One of the things that I really love about Centers for Spiritual Living is that we're very inclusive about the various spiritual practices. And I think the podium might still be on. Okay. And and so we're very inclusive about the various spiritual practices. And in yoga, you know that it aligns your body, mind, and spirit, right? And I think the hula does the very same thing, right? It aligns the body, mind, and spirit. And I could feel this whole room transformed as not only we're aligned with our own body and mind and spirit, but we're aligned with everyone here and with all of spirit and your dear friend that has passed, right? We're all one. And so and this is an example of the question, whatever the question, love is the answer. And, I have a friend who's a practitioner, and whenever I call his voicemail, I hear his cheerful voice say, whatever the question, love is the answer. All right. And so, whatever I'm thinking about, it's like, oh, it slows me down, brings me right back to center. But for him, it's the literal truth, right? Michael, I think the TV mic might be on. The TV needs to be turned off, or the TV speaker needs to be turned off. Okay, and there we go. Okay, so I also know that there are many people in the world that think that statement is a little bit too Pollyanna for them, right? Love's the answer to every question. I mean, really? They say, how could love, sweet, sweet love, be the answer to every question, no matter how challenging the question, how awful the situation? Love? It's a nice idea, but really? Well, I would like to share with you today how that is true. And so my topic today is, whatever the question, love is the answer. So this truth is not something that we can learn with logic, with our minds. It must be learned with the heart. It's something that we have to experience, right? So as I was contemplating the topic this week, I had a lucid dream, right? And it was a waking dream. So I was aware of being fully present, but I also had let go. And turn this guy off. And see, is that better? No. But anyway, so let me share with you that dream. And I had been feeling sad and somewhat overwhelmed lately, maybe an understatement. And there was too much to do, not enough time, not enough help, not enough funds to do what I wanted to do. And I felt like a hot air balloon that had been lost all of its air and just was laying flat on the ground, wrinkled and flat. No air at all. That's how I felt. And so each time I would receive a temporary influx of air and I'd go off and I'd be doing great things and right back down to the ground, a state of exhaustion. Right. And so from this point of stillness and surrender, I let go all of my feelings for the moment and I turned within to spirit. And I asked the question, what is it that I need to release? What is it that I need to embrace? And so as I sat still, breathing slowly in and out, my heart stopped pounding. That's a plus. And in my mind's eye, I saw this happy little girl sneak out from underneath that flattened balloon. And she looked up at me with just pure love and joy. It was as if an inner light was pouring out of her heart and her loving eyes. So catching my attention, she paused and she turned and asked me what I was searching for. Well, I told her I was trying to find answers to all these problems that I was dealing with all around me. And so to find more energy, I wanted to, how do I get through another day? And even more so, how do I feel fully energized and alive? So with a giggle and a smile, she said, you will never find the answers out there. Come in here with me. So curious, I followed her in my mind's eye. We crawled under that flattened balloon. And underneath, there was this magical world that was painted with colors of every kind of beauty, with love, beautiful flowers everywhere in full bloom, every color, every size. And people were walking together hand in hand, singing with joy, with love for the beauty around them and the love that they shared and the divine love that was within their own hearts. They were full with overflowing with love as it poured out of their hearts. Right? So the magic occurred when a few people walked up to one of those stubborn problems that I had been dealing with, looked like a big rock on the ground, and they picked it up and let their divine love transform it, heal it, revealing the love within that had just been obscured. It was always there. My problem had become a gift of love and transformation that they cheerfully shared with me, gave it back. It was no longer a problem. It was an opportunity, right? An opportunity for growth, for shift. So problem after problem was transformed and each into a new and unexpected delight, right? And I found that my own heart was soon full of light and love. My energy was boundless. So after a while, the little girl asked if I was ready to return to the outer world. I looked at her with love and realized that I had already returned to the outer world because the inner and the outer world were one. Right? And now the difference was I saw with the eyes of divine love. Infinite love had transformed my whole world, and all is well. Love is the answer. My heart had learned a great lesson. But my mind, my ego, it would creep in there and try to let all the air out of the balloon again by suggesting that this was just wishful thinking. And this is where science of mind comes in. It helps. Ernest Holmes has a wonderful way of explaining to my logical mind the science behind what my heart knew. Right? So one of the basic spiritual principles in science of mind is actually in life is the creative process. And when we plant a carrot seed in the soil and we water it, give it sunlight, and we wait for it to germinate, we expect a seedling to appear that will eventually grow into a carrot, and we can have a nice food on our table. Right? We don't expect a watermelon. We don't expect an orange tree. We expect a carrot. A carrot seed becomes a carrot plant. Right? Now, if we do plant a watermelon seed, we expect a watermelon. What we plant is what we receive. It's the same thing with our thoughts. When we love the world, we expect the world to return that love. Right? May not be from the person that we thought it should be, but it will come back. Right? And when we hate the world and judge it to be cruel to us or ignore us, we plant that seed. And what do we get back? The world returns to us that judgment by ignoring us or hating us back, getting in our way. So the simple solution, change the thoughts with which we are seeding our world. Right? Sounds simple, and it should be. We say change your thinking and change your life, it just rolls off the tongue so easy. But why doesn't it always work out that way? Right? Why do some things just seem to stay the same awful, undesirable way? Know how hard we pray or even beg God. We go back to our old training, beg God to change them, right? So Ernest Holmes, in How to Use the Science of Mind, he says, the practitioner withdraws from the contemplation of existing circumstances and without contending against them, actually creates a new set of circumstances through consciously reversing the law that produced the conditions that ought to be changed. If his mind dwelt only on things as they appear to be, he would never, or she would never demonstrate beyond that appearance. And everything that happened would merely be more of the same thing. But he or she steps their consciousness up, sees through and beyond that fact to a new cause, right? So here's the first clue. The practitioner raises their consciousness to a higher level of consciousness. Rather than seeing from our limited human awareness, we remember that we're part of that one life. And we see with that greater consciousness, like Christ consciousness, as some would call it. We remember that it's the infinite one life that is expressing itself in and through and as everything, as us and that thing in front of us that's troubling us, and all people and all things everywhere present. And in this way, we begin to see through that situation what appears to be facts, and we see the new cause. We see the new seed, right? We begin to see this situation or this problem person is also a creation of the divine. Underneath the appearance is the possibility that infinite love, another name for God, could be a new cause, a new seed that could transform the situation. Now, if God is everywhere, and that means that love is everywhere, how could this persistent and annoying problem have gotten started in the first place? All right. Who planted that seed? All right. So one way is that our minds are connected with the collective consciousness of all humans that have ever lived. Right? That's the default. So when we want to create something new in our lives and we have no experience of what it could be, we tap into the humans who lived before us and what they've experienced. And so some of it was good and healthy, and some of it was born of divine love, and some of it not so good, right? But people have, they have free will, and some of what was not so good, so we pick up on their fear, that expectation, that's there. And that becomes something real that at least we can sense. And so we start planting some of that fear in our own consciousness, right? We pick up on it. I mean, these are people that they should know what they're doing, right? And so I should do what they do, whether it's be fearful, it's being racist, it's thinking small and not trusting, whatever it is. We learn from the people that came before us. Now, Marianne Williamson wrote a great book called A Return to Love. And she says, love is what we were born with. Fear is what we have learned here. The spiritual journey is the relinquishment or unlearning of fear and the acceptance of love back into our hearts. All right. She called the book Return to Love because we come from love. We come from that divine love. And so the whole process of spiritual awakening is returning to that awareness that we are love, that love is the truth of all things. Michael Singer wrote a wonderful book, one of my favorites, called The Untethered Soul. And he explains this process by talking about infinite energy. So everything in the physical world requires energy, but everything that happens in our inner world also requires energy. We use the inner energy to create new thoughts, or we use it to concentrate on one thought and then to fight off the interfering thoughts that come in, that ego coming in. Or we use that energy to avoid getting distracted, right? Keep our priorities straight. We use our energy to deal with our emotions as they affect our lives. All of these things take a lot of energy, right? So I'm not talking about that physical energy that we get from food. I am talking about this inner energy that we feel in our hearts. That's where the hula was coming from this morning, welcoming that love in. And so our heart is our connection to the divine love and to the infinite divine energy, right? The flow of life force through us, if you will, right? So we experience the opening and closing of our heart. I mean, it's something that I'm sure all of us are familiar with. And so Michael Singer tells a great story that helps us explain how powerful this inner energy is. So imagine that you're in your early 20s, all right, and your girlfriend or your boyfriend breaks up with you. And you're so depressed that you start staying home alone a lot whenever you can. And you're kind of half there when you're at work. And perhaps you stop having energy to clean the dishes or put out the trash or even get out of bed in the morning. All right. Perhaps you spend hours crying. Any sad moment in almost any movie can start the tears rolling down your cheeks, right? Your friends invite you out to dinner. They care about you, but you decline. No energy. Can't engage. You're just too tired and sad to do anything. And then the unthinkable happens. 3 months later, your boyfriend or your girlfriend calls you up and says, "Oh my God, I am so sorry. Leaving you was the worst mistake I ever made in my whole life. Can you ever forgive me? The only real love that I ever felt in my life was the time that I was with you. Can I come over and see you? Well, now what happens? Well, seriously, how long does it really take you to hop out of bed, get in the shower, clean up your apartment? It's almost instantaneous, right? So you've gone from a dead stop to full throttle in just a matter of seconds. You've gone from a closed heart, flowing through it, to an open heart that flowed wide open like a fire hose, right? And when we close our hearts, we block that infinite energy that's always available to us. We're the ones that have control whether our heart is open or closed. We hide in the darkness. The light, the energy is still there, but it's blocked off by a wall closing our heart that we've built. We can open our hearts just as quickly. That wall can be dissolved. So here's another clue as to why we decide to close our hearts. We get triggered by life events. These events remind us of some past experience that was hurtful that we have not yet released. And this is why forgiveness is so important. It's not just, it's good for the other person that we're forgiving, but it's really to release us from being weighed down by this ball and chain and by this closed wall. We close off that energy. And so we don't want, but when it happens, we don't want to experience that pain again. And so we shut down and close our hearts. We think we're protecting ourselves. Wow, this is good. I'm never going to be in a relationship like that again. In fact, I'm not going to be in any relationship again. All right. Have you ever been there? And so but it's also not just these painful experiences. It's the collective consciousness of humankind. Our pain we just drop that right in there. So all of humankind can have that memory and not be fooled again. So this is either conscious or unconscious, but it happens, right? So we can bravely try to substitute a new expectation. This time I will find someone who really loves me and treats me well. But, there's that fear in the back of our mind. It only lets us let in a little small trickle of energy. This guy or woman has just a few minutes, I'm going to decide whether or not, cut them off or accept them because they'll be perfect, right? They'll be Jesus or something, right? But, and when we just let in a little bit of energy, that energy goes to water the seed that germinates into what? A failed relationship or another failed job or another failed investment. Because what have we picked? We picked a seed from the old pile, right? We haven't allowed ourselves to clear our mind and allow a new seed that would be coming from the divine possibility. How do we open our hearts again? So Michael Singer says, energy can heal, and that's why love can heal. As you explore your inner energy, a whole world of discovery opens up to you. So the task then is to learn to remain open. So this is not necessarily easy. It takes a lot of practice. And when you think you've got it down, you'll be reminded that maybe not. Right? So I'm like, we know how, but we've also had those moments when it feels like to have that infinite energy, that love energy just flowing through your heart. I mean, it's just, you're in the flow and life is perfect. And I'm one with all of the universe and full with love. It's just flowing, overflowing with me. So what we need to do is make a choice to stay open and to let that energy flow through us. We need to explore our capacity for unlimited energy. We need to go beyond our comfort zone. Sometimes we come up with a situation that, oh, that's too much. The love that I have could never handle this. But if we stay open and we remember that we are part of God and that when we move, the whole universe is moving. It is spirit stepping forward into that situation. And it's this infinite love. It's not just us. It's the whole of infinite love. And guess what? The infinite love is on the other side too. right? We can call it out from that person's heart of hearts or from that situation. What is it that we need to see that's underneath this appearance, right? So, at first it may seem unnatural, like you're fighting your natural tendency to close up and protect yourself. You want to be that turtle that draws itself back into its shell, right? Be safe. But so we focus on that wholeness that comes from the divine energy. Do we feel the enthusiasm and the joy and the love as we open up to divine love? And then we shift our response to the events that happen in our life. When something triggers us, rather than quickly withdrawing into our turtle shell again, we just relax and we let it go and let it pass on by. This is what we do when we're meditating. Distracting thoughts come up and we just let them flow by or go down the waterfalls, described in lots of ways, but it's just being fully present, not hanging on to what happens, not judging it, just allowing it to flow by when we're in that open heart. Now, remember to help you understand this, when you're driving, and you see hundreds of things every minute as you go by. So we just note them and let them go in our mind. We're driving, we see the stoplight's either red or it's green or yellow. The sky is clear blue, or maybe there's clouds that are gathering for a storm. The neighbor next door is barbecuing. We're hungry. Family crossing the highway with the kids and the dog and their beach gear in tow, maybe a little bit slowly, right? But a mile down the road, all of this is gone from your mind. You stopped at the red light. You let the family cross at the crosswalk. And you put up your convertible top before the rain started or the hail, right? So you stayed relaxed, experienced the moment, and learned from the experience. Right? We can handle life's experiences, all of them, the same way. An awakened being stays open and allows that divine energy to guide them through life's experiences. By not shutting down, we don't store up the negative energy. And instead we create walls we don't create the walls that limit our future energy. By remaining open, we allow ourselves to process whatever's happening to us. We allow ourselves to see that divine presence everywhere. And we respond with that wisdom and love of our higher self from that consciousness of oneness to continue to be fully energized by that divine flow. We can even be a healing presence that allows others to learn to relax and trust that divine energy within their own hearts. Right. In today's reading by Reverend Dr. David Alt, he quoted Lao Tzu, "When I let go of what I am, I become what I might be." Right? When we learn to let our experiences just float by not clinging to what we know, good or bad, we allow divine energy to plant a new seed and manifest through us as our full potential. This is the soft focus that David Alt describes. We let go of attachment to always controlling everything in our lives. We trust Spirit to sometimes, and maybe even frequently, having an even better idea to plant in the soil. And so we learn to move through life with our hearts wide open. We feel safe and loved as we are supported by the flow of divine energy. That's the ultimate source, right? So let's circle back to my lucid dream about the little girl leading me into that magical world under the hot air balloon that lost all of its air. That little girl was the divine inner energy that showed me how to relax and to see beneath the appearances to the divine love that was always there. Because I was relaxed and open, I liked her giggle, I could stop fighting and resisting whatever it was that was going on and just stay present. I could see the divine guidance waiting for me and to receive it. I could feel the joy and the lightness of letting go and letting God. All of my problems were transformed. I was energized and I was filled with love and light. I had experienced the spiritual truth that whatever the question, love is the answer. Let's take this to prayer. And so as we follow that path within us, down that path that is so familiar, as our heart of hearts calls to us, and there, patiently waiting for us, is the infinite divine love. It is wholeness. It is energy. It is joy. It is peace. It is all that is. And we remember that this is who we are, and we allow our higher self to let go and be the truth of our being. And we realize that there is absolutely no separation between us and the divine, infinite one. And as we look out at the world, it is transformed. As we allow that inner love to flow up within us, we are full to overflowing, and it flows out into the world, and it comes back to us, blessed and multiplied. For this is the energy of life, and it is good. And so we know that whatever happens, infinite mind always has a greater possibility. And as we let go and let God, we adjust. We become detached from the outcome, and we know that Spirit has the perfect view, the infinite view of what could be. And so we surrender to that highest and best possibility for our life and for this center as we've coming together today for this meeting to talk about the future of our building. We let go of any expectations, good or bad or whatever, any things that need to be handled. We know that Spirit's got this. And so we step forward with bravery, with trust, with love, and allow Spirit to create that path for us to move forward together in harmony and in love, and excited about sharing this divine love with the world, creating a place where all people can come and feel welcome and warm and loved, accepted just as they are. For we are all part of that one life. And so this is the Center for Spiritual Living, Tahoe-Truckee. We are whole, perfect, and complete, and we are full of love. It is our life. It is our reason for being. And so we are grateful for this day. We are grateful for everything that unfolds so perfectly. We're grateful for each one that is here today and all of life. And so as we release these words into the law, it says, yes, my beloved, yes, I've got this. And with trust, we release these words, and together we say, and so it is.